Most people approach attraction with the wrong mindset, believing that if they just do enough, say enough, or give enough, the other person will eventually notice and want them. They think that constant attention, reassurance, and effort are the keys to making someone care. But here's the hard truth: attraction doesn't grow in the presence of desperation, and desire isn't created through endless giving. In fact, the more you chase someone, the less likely they are to value you. It's a painful reality, but one that must be understood if you ever want to create deep longing in someone's heart. Making a woman miss you badly isn't about what you pour into her. It's about what you build within yourself and how you control the dynamic between you. When you give without pause, when you make yourself constantly available, you remove all mystery, all intrigue, and all reason for her to think about you. Imagine reading the same page of a book over and over again. Eventually, you stop noticing the words. The same happens when you are always there, always calling, always showing up. There is no space for appreciation to grow, no time for curiosity to form. People value what they have to earn, what they cannot predict, and what feels scarce. When something is abundant and guaranteed, human nature begins to take it for granted. This isn't cruelty, it's psychology. It's how desire operates. If you want someone to miss you, they must first feel your absence. The biggest mistake many men make is believing that closeness equals connection. They assume that the more time they spend with a woman, the more she will care about them. But closeness without balance suffocates desire. When there is no breathing room, there is no chance for longing to develop. Think about this carefully. Longing is born in space. It's created in the silence, in the wondering, in those moments when she notices you're not there and begins to think about why, if you are always present, you deny her that experience. You never allow her mind to wander towards you, to imagine you, to crave you. This is why self-control is the most powerful tool you can have in relationships. Not manipulation, not games, but genuine discipline over your emotions and actions. It takes strength to step back instead of leaning in, especially when your feelings are intense. It takes courage to stop chasing when every part of you wants to keep trying. But that strength is exactly what separates those who are easily forgotten from those who become unforgettable. When you hold back, when you allow space, you create a vacuum that naturally draws attention back to you. She begins to wonder where you are, what you're doing, why you aren't constantly available like everyone else. That wondering is the seed of missing someone. But here's where many people go wrong. They try to create this effect while still secretly needing validation. They say they're pulling back, but inside they're anxious, checking their phone every 2 minutes, waiting for her to reach out. That energy comes through, and it destroys the very dynamic they're trying to build. You must genuinely embody independence, not fake it. This means cultivating a life so rich, so full of purpose, that you are not defined by whether she calls or texts or shows interest today. It means standing firm in your worth, knowing that your value doesn't come from her attention. Only when you truly believe this can your absence create the desired effect. Making a woman miss you is not about tricks or tactics. It's about understanding that attraction is a dance between presence and absence, between giving and holding back. It's about recognizing that desire needs space to breathe and curiosity needs room to grow. Most importantly, it's about becoming the kind of person who naturally inspires longing, not through constant effort, but through your very essence. When you grasp this truth, you stop chasing and start drawing others in effortlessly. And that is the foundation for creating the kind of connection that lingers in someone's mind long after you've left the room. Closeness is a beautiful thing when it is balanced and mutual, but when it is unbalanced, it has the power to quietly erode desire and attraction. Many people fall into the trap of believing that the more attention they give, the more they show up, and the more available they are, the stronger the connection will become. At first, it may even seem to work. In the beginning of a relationship or interaction, Consistent communication can feel exciting and reassuring, but as time goes on, that same constant availability begins to lose its charm. It starts to feel predictable, and predictability is the enemy of passion. When every message is answered immediately, every plan is accepted without hesitation, and every request is met without resistance, there is no challenge, no intrigue, no reason for someone to deeply long for your presence. This is where closeness begins to suffocate desire instead of nurture it. The human mind is wired to crave novelty and challenge. It values what is earned more than what is freely given. When something or someone is always accessible, there is no sense of mystery or urgency. Imagine a favorite song that you listen to repeatedly without pause. At first, it's thrilling, but eventually you grow tired of it. Not because the song itself has changed, but because you've overexposed yourself to it. The same principle applies in relationships. When you are always there, always available, and always willing, you rob the other person of the chance to miss you. You take away the excitement of wondering what you're doing, the curiosity about what you're thinking, and the anticipation of when they'll see you again. These moments of wondering are vital because they build emotional investment. Without them, interactions can start to feel flat and routine, no matter how good your intentions are. Over-communication is another silent destroyer of desire. Many people believe that constant texting, calling, or checking in shows care and interest. While it does demonstrate attention, it can also send an unspoken message. I have nothing else going on in my life but you. Whether consciously or unconsciously, this begins to shift the power dynamic. The person on the receiving end starts to feel less excitement and more pressure. Instead of viewing you as someone they're drawn to, they may begin to see you as someone who is overly dependent on their attention. This creates a subtle sense of suffocation, a feeling that they need to step back just to breathe. Ironically, the very effort you put in to draw them closer ends up pushing them away. It's not that communication is bad. It's that it must be measured and meaningful. Space between interactions allows each exchange to feel intentional and valuable rather than overwhelming and routine. Emotional breathing room is essential for any relationship to thrive. This doesn't mean ignoring someone or playing cold-hearted games. It means respecting the natural rhythm of connection. Just like a fire needs both oxygen and fuel to burn brightly, attraction needs both presence and absence to stay alive. If there is only fuel, constant closeness, endless talking, perpetual interaction, the fire smothers itself. It burns out because it lacks oxygen. The oxygen in a relationship comes from the time apart, from moments of quiet, from the gaps where curiosity can grow. When someone has the chance to miss you, they are essentially being given oxygen. It allows them to reflect, to remember, and to crave the next interaction. Without this, no matter how much you give, the spark will inevitably fade. It's important to understand that pulling back isn't about punishment or manipulation. It's about balance. Many people overcompensate out of fear of losing the other person, fear of being forgotten, fear of rejection. This fear drives them to overinvest, hoping that if they give enough, they'll be secure. But relationships built on fear are fragile. They create a dynamic where one person is always giving while the other simply receives. Over time, this imbalance breeds resentment on both sides. The giver feels unappreciated and the receiver feels burdened. True connection requires a dance, a flow where both people move toward and away from each other in harmony. When this natural rhythm is respected, longing has a chance to grow. When it's disrupted by constant closeness, attraction suffocates. The truth is, people need to feel a sense of independence even when they deeply care about someone. No one wants to feel trapped or consumed by another person's presence. This is why a little space can do wonders. It gives both individuals room to breathe, to reflect, and to come back to each other with renewed energy and appreciation. This is especially powerful when the other person initially seems disinterested. By creating space, you give them the freedom to feel their own emotions rather than being overwhelmed by yours. You allow them to notice what life feels like without your constant presence, and in that absence, they may begin to realize what you truly bring to the table. Understanding this principle can be difficult, especially when your natural instinct is to lean in and try harder. It feels counterintuitive to step back when you want to get closer. But attraction is not logical, it's emotional. Logic tells you to keep proving yourself, to keep showing up, to keep giving. Emotion, however, thrives on tension, mystery, and contrast. By resisting the urge to overgive, you create the very conditions that make someone want to be near you. You stop trying to force a connection and instead allow it to form naturally. This is where real desire begins, not from constant presence, but from the moments when you're gone and they find themselves wishing you were there. Closeness is a gift when it's given in moderation. When you learn to balance your presence with absence, your words with silence, and your giving with restraint, you create a powerful dynamic. It's in this space that someone begins to truly miss you, not because you demanded it, but because you allow them to feel it on their own. This is the art of building desire, not by overwhelming someone with your presence, but by creating just enough distance for them to recognize your value and crave your return. The first and most powerful step to making someone miss you deeply, even if they seem uninterested, is learning the art of pulling back. This is not about being cold or cruel. It is about creating space that allows desire to breathe and curiosity to grow. Many people misunderstand this concept and think it means playing games, ignoring messages to provoke a reaction, or being manipulative. That is not what true pulling back looks like. Real pulling back comes from a place of strength and self-respect, not bitterness or anger. It's about recognizing that over-investment creates imbalance, and imbalance kills attraction. When you are constantly available, constantly reaching out, constantly giving without pause, you unintentionally communicate that you have nothing else going on in your life besides this person. That energy does not inspire longing. It inspires comfort at best and disinterest at worst. By stepping back, you restore the balance. You allow the other person to feel your absence and to wonder about you again. Scarcity is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology. People are naturally drawn to what feels rare, valuable, and slightly out of reach. Think about anything in life. When something is abundant and easily accessible, its perceived value decreases. When it's limited or exclusive, desire for it intensifies. This principle applies to relationships as much as it does to anything else. If you are always there, always initiating, always responding instantly, there is no scarcity. You become like background noise, always present, but rarely noticed. Pulling back introduces scarcity into the dynamic. Suddenly, you are no longer guaranteed. Suddenly, your time and attention carry weight because they are not endlessly available. This shift forces the other person to pay closer attention. They start to wonder where you are, what you're doing, or why they don't have the same access to you they once did. That wondering is the seed of missing you. Without it, there is no reason for them to crave your presence. The key to pulling back effectively is intention. It cannot be done with resentment, nor can it be done half-heartedly. If you step back but secretly hope they'll chase you immediately, your energy will betray you. They will sense the neediness beneath your actions, and instead of feeling drawn in, they will feel pressured or manipulated. True pulling back means genuinely redirecting your focus onto yourself and your life. It means investing your time and energy into your goals, passions, and growth instead of constantly pouring it into someone who isn't reciprocating. When you do this authentically, you stop radiating desperation. You begin to project calm confidence. This shift in energy is magnetic. It communicates without words that you are whole on your own and that your attention is something to be earned, not taken for granted. This alone is enough to make someone who once seemed indifferent start to pay attention. Another reason pulling back is so effective is that it creates contrast. When you are always present, there is no contrast between your presence and your absence. The other person has no opportunity to feel the difference between life with you and life without you. But when you step back even slightly, they experience that contrast. They begin to notice the little ways you added value to their life. The conversations, the laughter, the sense of connection they may have taken for granted. This realization often doesn't happen in your presence. It happens in the quiet moments when you're gone. By creating this contrast, you give them the space to recognize your worth on their own terms, which is far more powerful than trying to convince them through words or actions. It's important to remember that pulling back is not about silence for the sake of silence or distance for the sake of distance. It's about creating healthy space. This space allows both people to reflect on what they truly want. It gives the other person room to come forward voluntarily rather than out of guilt or obligation. When someone chooses to reach out because they genuinely miss you, it carries far more weight than if they respond simply because you demanded attention. By stepping back, you are giving them the gift of autonomy. You are saying, I respect you enough to let you come to me willingly, and I respect myself enough not to chase endlessly. This creates a foundation of mutual respect, which is essential for lasting connection. Of course, pulling back requires emotional strength. It goes against every instinct you have when you care about someone. Your natural desire will be to move closer, to fix the situation, to prove your worth through action. It will feel uncomfortable to hold back, especially if you are used to giving more than you receive. But discomfort is part of growth. The temporary unease you feel while pulling back is nothing compared to the long-term pain of constantly overextending yourself for someone who doesn't value you. By choosing to step back now, you are setting a boundary that protects your self-respect and preserves the possibility of genuine desire in the future. The beauty of this approach is that it is completely natural. When done correctly, it doesn't feel forced or manipulative to the other person. It simply feels like you are living your life fully and allowing them to experience the absence of your energy. Over time, they will begin to notice the void. They may not even understand why, but they will start to feel it. This is when curiosity kicks in. They start thinking about you more, checking their phone to see if you've reached out, wondering why you haven't. This internal dialogue creates a powerful emotional pull. And because it's their own realization, not something you pushed on them, it feels authentic and compelling. Pulling back is not about punishing someone for not showing interest. It's about creating the right environment for genuine attraction to grow. It's about shifting the dynamic from one-sided effort to mutual investment. When you master the art of stepping back with grace and strength, you stop forcing connections and start inspiring them. The other person begins to move toward you naturally, not because you begged for their attention, but because they feel the pull of your absence. And that is the essence of making someone miss you deeply, giving them the space to recognize on their own just how much your presence matters. Becoming the person someone can't stop thinking about has nothing to do with tricks, manipulation, or trying to impress someone with surface level gestures. It has everything to do with who you are when you're not around them. Too many people obsess over the other person's feelings while completely neglecting their own growth, purpose, and identity. They think desire is built by doing more for someone else, when in reality, desire grows strongest when you become the kind of person whose energy lingers long after you've left the room. To make someone miss you deeply, you must first become unforgettable, and that starts with what you build inside yourself, not what you give to someone else. The most magnetic people in the world share a common trait. They have lives that are bigger than any one person. They are rooted in purpose, driven by passion, and confident in their own worth. When you meet someone like this, you can feel the difference immediately. They don't beg for attention, they don't over-explain themselves, and they don't revolve their entire existence around whether someone approves of them or not. Instead, They radiate a quiet strength that draws people in naturally. You find yourself thinking about them even when they're not there, not because they chased you or overwhelmed you with attention, but because they carry a sense of completeness that makes you want to be near them. This is the secret most people miss. If you want someone to long for your presence, you must create a presence worth longing for. This means focusing on your own life in a way that naturally makes you magnetic. Develop your skills. Build your career or business. Cultivate passions that light you up from the inside. When you have things in your life that excite you, that challenge you, that give you a sense of fulfillment. You become a source of energy rather than a drain on it. Too many people enter relationships from a place of emptiness, hoping the other person will fill the void. This creates neediness, and neediness pushes people away. But when your life is already full, when you're already living with purpose, you stop needing anyone to complete you. And here's the paradox: the less you need someone, the more attractive you become. Independence is intoxicating because it communicates strength and self-sufficiency, qualities that naturally inspire respect and desire. Another essential part of becoming unforgettable is mastering your energy. People rarely remember every word you say, but they always remember how you made them feel. Were you calm or chaotic, confident or insecure, exciting or predictable? Your energy is what stays with someone long after the conversation ends. When your energy is grounded, positive, and authentic, creates an emotional imprint. The next time they're feeling low, they'll remember how you made them laugh. When they need comfort, they'll remember the sense of safety they felt around you. When they're bored, they'll remember the spark of excitement you brought into their day. This is why working on your emotional presence is just as important as working on your outward life. If you can make someone feel seen, understood, and uplifted, they will crave that feeling when you're gone. But here's the key: you can't fake this. You can't pretend to be confident, pretend to be fulfilled, or pretend to be passionate about life. People sense when energy is forced or inauthentic. To truly become someone unforgettable, you must build the real thing. This means facing your insecurities instead of covering them up with fake bravado. It means pursuing things you genuinely care about instead of trying to look impressive for others. It means learning how to manage your emotions so you can bring stability instead of chaos into someone's life. When you do this work for real, you won't have to announce it. People will feel it. They'll feel the difference between someone who's desperate for attention and someone who is whole on their own. And that difference is what creates lasting impact. Living a life that naturally inspires curiosity also plays a massive role. If your entire existence revolves around one person, there's nothing for them to wonder about. Mystery dies when you become predictable. But when you have passions, goals, and interests outside of them, you create a sense of intrigue. They start to wonder what you're doing when you're not around, who you're meeting, what exciting things you have going on in your world. This isn't about playing games. It's about genuinely living a life that doesn't grind to a halt because someone isn't giving you attention. People are drawn to motion, to energy, to lives that feel alive. If you become that kind of person, they can't help but want to be part of your world. This entire process transforms the dynamic between you and the other person. Instead of chasing, begging, or trying to force them to miss you, you create an environment where missing you becomes inevitable. They experience your energy, your presence, your confidence, and your passion, and when you're gone, they feel the difference. That absence isn't empty. It's filled with the memory of what it felt like to be around you. They begin to seek that feeling out again, not because you manipulated them into it, but because you genuinely brought value into their life. And that is the foundation for real, lasting desire. The ultimate irony is this: when you stop trying so hard to be remembered, when you stop making someone else the center of your universe, you naturally become unforgettable. Your focus shifts inward. You build a life, a mindset, and an energy that makes people feel something powerful when they're with you. And when you leave, they realize how much they miss it. This is how you become the person they can't stop thinking about, not by doing more for them, but by becoming more yourself. There are deep psychological forces at play when it comes to making someone truly miss you. Desire doesn't just appear out of thin air. It's triggered by specific emotional states that awaken longing within a person. If you understand these emotional triggers and know how to naturally create them, you'll discover that making someone miss you isn't about forcing a reaction or manipulating their feelings. It's about evoking certain experiences and emotions that make your presence unforgettable. These triggers aren't complicated, but they are powerful. They work on a subconscious level, often beyond the other person's awareness, and when activated, they create a strong internal pull toward you. By mastering these triggers, you move from constantly trying to get attention to being the kind of person someone can't help, but think about even when you're not around. The first and most essential trigger is admiration. People long for those they admire. When someone sees qualities in you that they find rare, valuable, or inspiring, they naturally feel drawn to you. This admiration doesn't come from bragging about your achievements or trying to impress someone with words. It comes from how you live and carry yourself. When you demonstrate strength in challenging situations, when you show discipline and purpose in your life, when you have a vision you're chasing, you become someone worth respecting. This respect lays the foundation for desire. Without admiration, longing cannot exist. You may be liked, you may even be loved in a comfortable way, but you will never be deeply missed. Missing someone comes from feeling that they bring something unique and irreplaceable to your life. If you want to create this effect, focus on being someone who stands out, not by pretending to be extraordinary, but by genuinely developing yourself and living with integrity. Another powerful emotional trigger is excitement. Think about the people you miss most in life. Chances are they're the ones who made you feel alive, who brought joy, fun, and novelty into your world. People don't crave routine interactions that feel stale and predictable. They crave those who ignite a spark in them. When you bring excitement into someone's life, you create emotional highs that linger long after the moment is over. This doesn't mean you have to be a constant entertainer or live on adrenaline, but it does mean cultivating a sense of passion and spontaneity. Surprise them occasionally with your energy. Share experiences that stand out from the ordinary. Be the person who breaks up the monotony of their day with laughter, inspiration, or even a fresh perspective. When you provide these emotional highs, they begin to associate you with a sense of vitality. Then, when you're not around, they miss that feeling desperately because it's rare and hard to replace. Safety is another crucial trigger, and it works hand in hand with excitement. While excitement draws someone in with passion and intensity, safety provides the grounding that allows them to truly relax around you. Safety doesn't mean avoiding conflict or hiding who you are. It means creating an environment where the other person feels accepted and secure in your presence. When someone feels emotionally safe with you, they can open up without fear of judgment. They can show their vulnerabilities, knowing you won't weaponize them later. This type of emotional safety is rare, and when people experience it, they cling to it. If you become the person who makes someone feel both alive and safe at the same time, you create a powerful bond. Bond lingers even in your absence, pulling them back toward you because you represent a unique balance they can't find elsewhere. Another emotional state that fuels longing is challenge. It might seem contradictory. Being too easy to please or too predictable actually diminishes attraction over time. Humans are wired to value what they have to work for. When everything is given freely without effort, it loses its meaning. By embodying challenge, you keep the other person engaged on a deeper level. This doesn't mean playing hard to get in a manipulative way. It means having standards, boundaries, and a strong sense of self. It means not compromising your values just to keep someone around. When you demonstrate that you are selective about who you allow close to you, you naturally increase your perceived value. The other person feels compelled to rise to meet your standards. This subtle form of challenge keeps them intrigued, motivated, and emotionally invested. Without it, relationships can become dull and stagnant. The most powerful dynamic happens when these triggers are combined. Imagine someone who excites you, makes you feel safe, challenges you to grow, inspires admiration. That person becomes unforgettable because they meet multiple deep emotional needs at once. When they are present, you feel fully alive. When they are gone, their absence feels like a void. This is why some people are so deeply missed while others fade quickly from memory. It's not about how much time they spent with you or how many favors they did. It's about the emotional impact they left behind. If you want to be missed, focus on creating these layered experiences for the other person. Each interaction should leave them with a mix of feelings: comfort, desire, curiosity, and excitement. When they reflect on these moments later, the emotions come rushing back, and with them, the longing for your presence. However, it's vital to understand that these triggers only work when they come from a place of authenticity. If you try to manufacture admiration, excitement, or challenge through manipulation, the other person will eventually see through it. True power lies in genuinely embodying these qualities. This means committing to your own growth so that admiration is a natural response to who you are. It means cultivating a rich, fulfilling life so that excitement flows naturally from your experiences. It means establishing firm boundaries and living by them so that challenge isn't an act but a reflection of your integrity. Authenticity is magnetic because it's rare. People are constantly surrounded by pretense and performance. When they encounter someone who is real, it stands out and that memory lingers. When you master these emotional triggers, something profound happens. You no longer have to chase anyone or beg for their attention. Instead, you create an internal shift within them. They begin to seek you out, not because you ask them to, but because their emotions compel them to. They find themselves thinking about you at unexpected moments, feeling a pull they can't fully explain. This is the power of genuine longing. It cannot be faked, and it cannot be forced. It arises naturally when someone has experienced a deep, layered connection with you. By focusing on admiration, excitement, safety, and challenge, you position yourself as someone truly unforgettable. When you leave, your absence will not go unnoticed. It will echo in their mind and heart, drawing them back to you again and again. Ultimately, the goal is not to control another person's feelings, but to create a dynamic that allows authentic desire to flourish. When you understand how these emotional triggers work, you stop overcomplicating attraction. You stop wasting energy on chasing or convincing. Instead, you focus on becoming the kind of person who naturally evokes longing through presence, energy, and depth. And when you do that, making someone miss you badly becomes effortless because you've given them an experience they cannot find anywhere else. Scarcity is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology, and when it comes to relationships, plays a critical role in making someone miss you. People don't value what is constantly available to them. When something is always within reach, tends to fade into the background and lose its significance over time. On the other hand, when something is rare or slightly out of reach, its value multiplies. This is why absence has such a profound effect on the human mind. When you create space between yourself and someone else, they begin to notice the void you leave behind. This doesn't mean disappearing entirely or ignoring them to play games. It means being intentional with your time and energy, showing them that your presence is a privilege, not a given. When you are not always immediately accessible, it forces the other person to reflect on what you bring into their life. This reflection naturally builds longing because it highlights the difference between life with you and life without you. However, Scarcity must be genuine to have a lasting impact. If you withdraw simply to manipulate someone's emotions, they will eventually see through the act. The key is to cultivate a life so full of purpose and richness that you are naturally unavailable at times. This could mean dedicating time to your passions, your career, your friendships, and your personal growth. When you are deeply engaged in your own journey, you don't need to pretend to be busy. You truly are busy. This authentic scarcity sends a powerful message. Your world doesn't revolve around one person. You have your own path, your own dreams, and your own priorities. Ironically, this independence is what makes someone crave your presence even more. They begin to see you as someone of high value because your time is clearly meaningful. Each moment you spend with them then becomes special rather than routine, which intensifies their desire to be around you. Creating scarcity also involves setting clear boundaries. Boundaries are not walls meant to keep others out, but guidelines that define how you wish to be treated. When you have strong boundaries, you communicate self-respect without saying a word. You don't overextend yourself to please someone. You don't allow your schedule, your emotions, or your values to be constantly compromised just to keep someone happy. This form of scarcity tells the other person that your attention must be earned. It shifts the dynamic from one-sided effort to mutual respect and reciprocity. Over time, this creates a sense of challenge and intrigue. They realize they cannot take you for granted because you will not remain in spaces where you are undervalued. This awareness naturally deepens their appreciation for your presence and fuels the desire to keep you close. The art of scarcity also involves mastering the balance between closeness and distance. If you are too distant for too long, the connection may weaken and eventually fade. On the other hand, if you are too available, the sense of longing disappears. The key is to find a rhythm where you give someone enough access to feel connected, but also enough space to feel your absence. Think of it like breathing. There must be both inhaling and exhaling, closeness and space, for the relationship to feel alive. This balance keeps the emotional dynamic charged. When you're present, they savor it deeply. When you're absent, they anticipate your return. By maintaining this balance, you create a cycle of desire that never grows stagnant. Another subtle but vital aspect of scarcity is mystery. When every detail about you is immediately revealed, there's nothing left for the other person to discover. Humans are naturally curious creatures. We are drawn to what we don't fully understand. Mystery keeps interest alive by leaving certain parts of yourself just out of reach. This doesn't mean being secretive or deceptive. It means allowing your personality, your goals, and your depth to unfold gradually over time. When someone senses there's always more to learn about you, they remain emotionally invested. They keep thinking about you, wondering about you, and seeking to understand you on a deeper level. This curiosity is a form of longing, and it can be incredibly powerful when combined with authentic scarcity. Scarcity also magnifies memories. When someone doesn't see you often, the moments they do share with you take on greater significance. Each conversation, each laugh, each shared experience becomes etched more deeply into their mind. When you step back and give them space, they revisit these memories in your absence. They replay your words, your expressions, your energy. These memories become emotional anchors, drawing them back to you even when you're far away. This is why it's so important to be fully present and intentional during the time you do spend together. When you leave, they won't just miss a person, they'll miss the feelings and experiences you created. It's also worth noting that scarcity requires emotional discipline. It's tempting to want constant reassurance, especially when you care about someone deeply. You might feel the urge to always be available, to always respond immediately, to always reach out first. But true connection isn't built through constant presence. It's built through meaningful presence. By exercising restraint, you give the other person room to initiate, to reach out, and to invest in the relationship. This mutual effort strengthens the bond far more than one-sided pursuit ever could. It creates a dynamic where both people contribute, which makes the connection feel balanced and secure. When scarcity is applied with authenticity and balance, it transforms how someone perceives you. You are no longer just another person in their life. You become a rare presence, a source of value that cannot be easily replaced. They begin to miss you not only when you're gone, but even when you're right there, because they are aware of how precious and fleeting each moment with you truly is. This is the power of scarcity. Turns ordinary interactions into extraordinary experiences. It deepens appreciation, intensifies desire, and ensures that when you are not around, your absence is felt deeply. By mastering this principle, you create a space in someone's heart and mind that no one else can occupy, and that is how true longing begins to take root.